Created by Doug Munch and artist Don Perlin in 1975, Moon Knight made his first appearance in Werewolf by Night 32. Moon Knight would go on to be one of Marvel's biggest characters. Marc Spector was a mercenary, a part of his character which will further be explored in his first solo run. Hired by a secret organisation called the Committee, Spector's mission was to kill Jack Russell, the titular Werewolf by Night. Moon Knight is equipped with silver weapons and dons a silver suit, the metal that is a known weakness to werewolves. What chance of survival does Jack Russell stand? Although Moon Knight is initially portrayed as a villain, the plans for him to become a hero were always there, as by the end of the issue he is left questioning the ethics of the Committee. Moon Knight's second and third appearance would be in Werewolf by Night 33 and Werewolf by Night 37 respectively. The popularity of Moon Knight led to him later receiving his first solo comic run in Marvel Spotlight 28 and 29. In issue 28, Moon Knight takes on the villains Conquerlord and Weasel. Weasel ultimately dies in this issue. However, Conquerlord returns in issue 29 and the battle continues. Moon Knight tracks down the Conquerlord to his base, where he finds Marlene suspended over a pit of alligators. Moon Knight is then dumped onto a chessboard-themed battle arena, where he faces off against Conquerlord and his giant chess pieces. Moon Knight prevents him from escaping and leaves him for authorities to deal with, and manages to save Marlene. Throughout the next couple of years, Moon Knight would make multiple appearances in other titles, such as The Defenders, Marvel 2-in-1 with The Thing, and Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, before finally receiving his first comic series in 1980. This run would last for 4 years, finishing with issue 38. This run would focus on the origin of Marc Spector, the Fist of Khonshu, Moon Knight. In issue 1, Mark is carried to the tomb of Seti, the second pharaoh of the 19th dynasty of Egypt, by two Arabs who spot him silhouetted against the moon and lay him at the feet of the statue of Khonshu. He shocks everyone who thought him dead by sitting upright. He does not know who he is, but instantly recognises the statue he was laid out before. We learned that he gained two new identities in that sacred tomb, Jake Lockley and Stephen Grant. Stephen Grant is described as a Wall Street wizard and is able to turn Mark's small sum of savings into a millionaire's fortune. Jake Lockley is a street-smart cabbie who hears everything and uses his skill to gain information about dangerous people. Armed with two new personas and his Moon Knight alter ego, Marc Spector continues the mission he begun in the Pharaoh's tomb. Moon Knight's first run of comics is where we meet many of his closest allies and worst enemies, such as Frenchie, a friend of Mark's, Marlene, Mark's love interest who is previously mentioned, and Midnight Man, a notorious thief who battles with Moon Knight in issue 3. Not forgetting, of course, Jack Russell, the Werewolf by Night, one of Moon Knight's most infamous foes. Over the years, Moon Knight has appeared in a number of teams and rosters, including but not limited to the Avengers, the Defenders, and most notably, the Midnight Suns. As of recording, Moon Knight's latest team is a band of misfits who operate the Midnight Mission, consisting of Tigra, Reese, Hunter's Moon, Soldier, and 8-Ball. Moon Knight's mental health over the decades have been very complicated to say the least. While originally intended to just be one guy playing multiple characters, over time the writers have shaped this feature into a mental health condition called dissociative identity disorder, or DID for short. Moon Knight's DID is said to have been caused by witnessing his younger brother's death and subsequent abuse from his mother. The first time we get a hint that each persona is a whole separate personality, rather than Spector taking on the roles, is in Moon Knight 27 from 1983. This is evident when Jake Lockley is describing Marc Spector as a different personality, one whose reactions greatly differ from Lockley's. Moon Knight's mental health struggles is a relatively modern addition, as despite Moon Knight 27 describing the personas as separate entities, that is the last time in the run that they are described that way. It wouldn't be until 2005 when we get our first real mention of Moon Knight having DID. This would be the Ultimate Universe variant of Moon Knight, created by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley. It is widely accepted that Charlie Huston's 2006 Moon Knight run is the first time we explore the mental struggles of the character in the main 616 universe. Huston's run initially jumps back and forth in time, with present-day Marc Spector being wheelchair-bound and struggling to survive, even begging Khonshu for strength. Throughout the run, we learn more about Moon Knight's struggles, his past, and his relationship with Khonshu. 10 years later, Jeff Lemire really dives into Moon Knight's mental state in his run of Moon Knight. Issue 1 opens on Mark being held in a mental asylum with no powers and supposed false memories of protecting New York City. Over the course of 5 issues, Mark battles with himself, trying to find out what his reality really is. Moon Knight's most recent persona first appeared properly in 2014's Moon Knight 1, written by Warren Ellis. Despite Moon Knight first donning the costume in another Ellis title, Secret Avengers issue 19, He does not take the name of Mr. Knight, and the reader is left to assume that it is just a costume change for Marc Spector. Mr. Knight was created as a more sophisticated and detective-orientated personality. Many talented artists and writers have created stories about Moon Knight since his creation in 1975. The most notable artists include Bill Sienkiewicz, Don Perlin, and my personal favourite, Alessandro Cappuccio. Doug Munch, Brian Michael Bendis and Warren Ellis are among the most influential Moon Knight writers. Currently, Moon Knight is being written by Jed MacKay and drawn by Dominic Carbone. All of these details from Moon Knight's history are what makes him the beloved crime fighter he is today. From struggles with mental health and complicated relationships to his resilience and refusal to give up. Moon Knight is more relatable than we give him credit for. To me, this is what makes Moon Knight such an interesting and layered character.